to open the meeting with a word of prayer. Bishop Kariuki.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you this morning. We want to bless you for the gift of life and even the gift of a new day. We bless you because you are the creator of heaven and earth, and you created man in your image and after your likeness. We thank you because it pleased you to give man dominion over the earth, that he can run, develop, and even become a blessing in this world. As we gather together here, Lord, we want to thank you for you have been good, and thank you for the journey that Equity Group Holding PLC has taken to this far. We want to bless you because in every stage you have been faithful. We want to thank you for your help, and we want to thank you for the far that you have brought us. Behold, we are gathered here this morning in our 15th annual general meeting. How we pray that you bless us. Stretch your blessing hand upon this meeting and everything that will take place in this meeting. We ask you of your blessings. We thank you because even at the end of the meeting, we shall have every reason to thank you because of what you'll have done to us. We bless this meeting, for this we do in Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much, Bishop Kariuki. I shall start the meeting also by introducing the directors of Equity Holdings, and they are seated over there, and I request kindly, when I call your name, stand up, my dear colleague, and salute the esteemed shareholders and the investors. I'll start from the bottom, and the recent directors of the holding who joined us. Dr. Edward Adudo, Mrs. Mary Wamai, Vijay, Everin Rutengweda, Helen Gishohi, Professor Isaac Macharia, David Ansel, the last and not least, you are protector and a custodian. Sorry for that omission. Mr. Deepak Marik. Sorry, Deepak. Can I now introduce last and not least, as I said earlier, you are protector and leader of your institution, Dr. James Mwangi. I'll now introduce Uganda subsidiary and start with Apollo Makuboya, the managing director of the subsidiary, Samo Kerobe, Mr. Anthony Kituka, Dr. James Mwangi is also in that board. Jeffrey Rugazara, Evelyn Rutagwenda, Peter Kiboa, Mrs. Mary Wamai, our friend Mark Ositi. I'll now come back to Kenya subsidiary. I call upon Professor Dr. Isaac Macharia, Dr. James Mwangi, the Managing Director of the Kenya subsidiary, Polycarp Igade, Mr. Patesha, Professor Shem Migot Andara, Mr. Frederick Mushoki, Julius Muya, he had informed us that he may not be with us today. He's engaged in another very important function, and if you have his picture, you can reflect it on the screen, but it's a person well known to us. Mrs. Mary Wamai, and Miss Adena Sagare. I'll move to Tanzania. Mr. David Ansha. David. Robert Kiboti. He's away. Dr. James Mwangi. Professor Ahmed Ame. Engineer Lemod Berigini, Mr. Godfrey Sibewe, apology, Mrs. Mary Wamai, Mr. Dino Stegel. I will now move to South Sudan. Professor Shem Migot Andara, and he's the chairman of that subsidiary. Dr. Addis Ababa, although Mrs. Mary Ajidi, Dr. Ken Spencer, Mrs. Mary Wamai, Mr. Alan Waitito, I will move to Rwanda subsidiary. Mrs. Evelyn Rutagwenda, Mr. Huntington Namara, Dr. James Mwangi, Mr. Emmanuel Butare, Mr. Robert Bafakurea, Mr. Dr. Patrick Uwezeye, Mrs. Jonathan Joan Bichel, Mrs. Mary Wamai, and Mr. James Mutuku. I'll move to DRC, Congo. Mr. David Ansel, Mr. Christine Mukeba. Oh, sorry. Celestine Mukeba. Oh, there he is. Dr. James Mwangi, Mr. Jean Crowd Tisoma. Apology. Mr. Batisha, Mr. Ogang Batamia, Dr. Mark Shiwete, apology, Mrs. Mary Wamai, Mr. James Mutuku. Our FinServ company, Dr. Patrick Oziwe, who is the chairman, Isaac Gary, Jack Gary, Eric Karabia, Mrs. John Bichel, Mrs. Icy Onyango Madson, Nyong Adson, Dr. Josephine Wapakakaburo, sorry, apology, Mr. Brent, Mrs. Mary Wamai, Mr. David Soman, apology. I think I've introduced all the subsidiaries except the foundation that is responsible for the Wings to Fry and many other activities. And the board consists of the following people. Dr. James Mwangi as the chairman, Mr. Ruben Mubidu, Ms. Jaffa, Mary Wamai. Having introduced the directors of the subsidiaries, I'll now introduce to you our company secretary, Ms. Christine Brown. I would also take this pressure to introduce to you our investors and esteemed shareholders, the audit company that has, in the past year, audited our company, read here by Richard Jeroge of PricewaterhouseCoopers. Having done those introductions, I would now like to ascertain the quorum with a consultation from the company secretary.
Mr. Chairman, under the Articles of Association of the company, a quorum is 3 members present. Mr. Chairman, I confirm there is a quorum for the meeting.
Having the quorum as confirmed by the company secretary, I declare the meeting duly constituted and therefore declare the meeting as open. As I said earlier, we are pleased with your turn-up today, which attests to your continued interest and support for the group. We have 10 items of the agenda to go through today, and I will now ask for your attention, patience, as we go through them. I'll also ask the company secretary to take us through the agenda of today's meeting. Company secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished members, I would like to draw your attention to page 8 and page 9 of the integrated report and financial statements. On page 8, we have the agenda and the notice of the 15th Annual General Meeting. We request the members to adopt the agenda, but with the following 2 proposed amendments. The first amendment relates to agenda item 2, Roman 5B, which is on page 8. And I will read that. The agenda is Roman 5. In accordance with the provisions of Section 769 of the Companies Act, number 17 of 2015, the following directors, being members of the Board Audit Committee, be appointed to continue to serve as members of the said committee. Distinguished members, we would like to withdraw the item with respect to Mr. David Ansell. Mr. David Ansell has been appointed as chairman of the board, hence has withdrawn membership of the Audit Committee, and consequently, we will request that no vote be taken with respect to this item. The second item I would like to draw your attention to is agenda item 3.1, and that is on page 9 under special business. I will read. To consider, and if found fit, to pass a special resolution approving, number 1, subject to regulatory approval, the establishment of an employee share ownership plan, an ESOP, and the issuance and allotment to the ESOP of 205,709,834 shares, amounting to 5% of the issued share capital of the company, to rank pari passu in all respects with the existing ordinary shares of the company. Distinguished members, we would request that this item be withdrawn from the agenda to allow finalization of certain aspects of the ESOP in view of some developments in the group. You may have seen announcements yesterday, and there are also announcements out today which will be shared by the CEO. So we request that for now, to allow those aspects to be taken into account, that we withdraw this agenda item, and we shall submit this for discussion and approval to the members at a later meeting. Thank you. I request the chair to put the matters to vote.
Thank you, our company secretary, for taking us through the agenda and also for giving us the notification of the withdrawn items of the agenda. I now put the resolution to adopt the agenda as amended to the meeting. Those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise your hands. None. I therefore declare the resolution carried. Agenda 2, or item 2, to receive, consider, and if thought fit, adopt the audited financial statements and director's remuneration report for the year ended 31st December 2018. Together with the chairman's, directors, and the auditor's report thereon. May I request the meeting to take the chairman's statement on page 13 of the integrated report as read. Having done that, I will make a few remarks. Dr. James Mwangi, the Director and Managing Director and Chief Executive of Equity Holdings, my fellow directors in the holding company, directors of the various subsidiaries, esteemed shareholders and investors, management and staff. Today is my last AGM to address as your chairman for the institution that I founded that 5 years ago. Although it is that 5 years since I embarked on realizing Equity Dream, it looks like only yesterday. Majority of you who have been with us since the inception of Equity Bank will agree with me that it has been a journey of hope, passion, commitment, resilience, and conviction that impossible is indeed possible. Because nobody would have thought that an institution started in a very small urban center in Kangema would be what it is today. Equity Dream, as I have said before, was inspired by the desire to create a socio-economic transformation amongst our people with the principal purpose of banking the unbanked, who are the majority in our society. Indeed, it has been a journey of partnership with our people to unlock dreams that were hidden in their hearts and minds. Equally, too, the dreams were varied and yet not realized because of the environment that had condemned the majority of our people to the vicious circle of poverty. Through God's blessing, we have for the last 5 years traveled this journey of breaking the chain that had tied dreams of our father and our forefathers. In addition, we have been able to permanently destroy the African curse of living in and dying poor amidst plenty. In pursuit of this dream, that 5 years ago, and armed with only 5,000 shillings, I reached out to my friends Jim Nambaro, Dr. Benson Wairegi, and the late John Mwangi Kagema, including Mr. Julius Kenywa. And after inspiring them to joining me, we ventured into establishing Equity Building Society, which later turned into Equity Bank. We began in a humble way and soldiered on. I wish to attribute this to the pioneer members of staff, namely the late John Mwangi Kagema, the late Meni, and the late Gakere Nyudo, who was for a long time the manager of Kagema branch. May their soul rest in eternal peace. At this juncture, I wish to recognize the immense role played by Dr. James Mwangi, the group managing director, whom I approached and invited to join me in 1993 and assigned him the responsibility of providing strategic and operational leadership. His contribution to the growth and transformation of this great institution is unprecedented. Today, I'm proud and humbled to celebrate key milestones that from a balance sheet of 28 million shillings, then that was those early years. Today, your bank stands at 600 billion shillings. In addition to this, from a customer base of 12,000 people, In those early days, Equity Bank today is a home to 13.6 million customers. In terms of technology, the bank has moved from the manual systems where we had passbooks and ledger cards. Majority of you remember who are customers then, that you'd come to the bank and your records would be kept in a passbook which you had to carry and present in the bank when you came to transact business. Today, you don't have to carry or to have a passbook because the bank has been digitized and 96% of our transaction has been digitized in the region. In the last 5 years, we have been able to establish 290 branches and 42,000 agents, while we have 694 ATMs. This is a big number as compared to the branches that we initially had, namely Morandia, Kiriaini, Karatina, and Four-Way Towers. The bank has also spread to East and Central Africa, which include Tanzania, Rwanda, DRC Congo, and South Sudan. And you have seen the directors of these subsidiaries which are doing extremely well in the territories where they are. Today, we can boast of very many top awards that we have received in Kenya, East Africa, and globally. The bank is today ranked number 35 of the most solid banks in the world, and number 11 of the banks which have the best return on assets. This comparison is made of very many banks and being recorded as number 35 and number 11 out of 1,000 banks is indeed something that we need to thank God for. My greatest joy rests in the socio-economic impact that we have made over the years. Just to mention a few, you bear witness that some small-scale farmers have been able to educate their children and also be able to finance their health care. This process has been able to touch lives of some 600,000 small-scale peasants who have moved from being peasant to small farmers and also graduated to small-scale business people. While thousands of those who are called Juakali have now been transformed into traders, small and medium-sized entrepreneurs, while others have now grown into large enterprises. It is worth mentioning here that while I started this journey with a seed capital of only 5,000 shillings and gradually growing it to 1 million shillings through investment of some friendly people here in Nairobi and also in the rural areas. Equity Group is now anchored on over 100 billion shillings of shareholders' fund from investors from all over the world. Equity Dream has attracted respected investors globally, and some of them are here with us, representing investors such as Allies, and that's what one of the directors that I asked to stand, and I asked him to stand again, Mr. Marek, that's the one representing a group of investors founded by the three cornerstone investors such as Rob Bank, North Fund, and FMO. Clap for him. Other investors who are local are Britam Holdings and Genesis. I wish to thank the regulators. It's because through their support of our self-innovative and positive culture that has made the bank flourish and grow. I would also wish to thank the Minister of Finance for a conducive fiscal policy environment that has helped to create a formidable financial sector and promoted an entrepreneur culture in Kenya. Indeed, the Equity Bank dream could not have been as successful without our development partners who believed in us and invested their funds and skills. Having said all this, one wonders whether I have learned anything in the process during the last 5 years. It has not escaped my mind, and it will never escape my mind that I have learned many lessons through this journey. One of the lessons that I've learned is persistence and consistent in pursuit of one's dream, because it's through this one would be successful. The other lesson that I've learned is that inspiration to the management and customers is a cornerstone of any growth. The other lessons, and I said there are many, is that overcoming diversity is key if one has to make a difference. And again, and you support me in this one should be courageous to travel in a path that has not been traveled by other people, as we did through the creation and establishment of Equity. The other lesson, which you have personally witnessed, is the gift of fulfillment in giving back to the society. And this is attested by the introduction of Wings to Fly to assist bright children in our society who are from marginalized families. My handing over of the leadership mantle of this great institution today is with special assignment to my successors. The assignments are replicating equity dream across Africa, and also transformation of over 100 million lives in 15 countries in medium term. I'm confident that this dream can and it will be realized because I have handed over to very versatile, strong board and management team that meets global standards in talent, skills, expertise, and experience. Certainly, as I transit from the chairmanship, I do so with great satisfaction and utmost fulfillment, because the inspiration that was bequeathed by my late mother is now a reality. During this transition, I'll try to also turn my attention mostly to creating of industries, both here and elsewhere, and manufacturing, and also put more effort in my pet subject and hobby of promoting education, because I'm a strong believer that it's through education that you can permanently destroy the vicious circle of poverty. Lastly, and not least, I'll always be available to offer my counsel, share my experiences with Equity Holding Group when I'm required, and also participate in forums of promoting equity interest, both locally and globally. God bless you all. Long live Equity Bank. Thank you. Thank you very much. Get seated. I will now call upon the Chief Executive and Managing Director, Dr. James Mwangi, to take us through performance highlights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to present the audited accounts. Esteemed shareholders and our investors, with you is a copy of the audited accounts from head to head. It's a big booklet. So what I will try to do is to summarize for you in what we call, and I trust you, most of you have a copy of the investors' briefing. Just what are the main items that we need to brief the investors? What do we need to take note of and for the year 2018? So when we go to road shows, this is the booklet we use. This is prepared for shareholders and investors to summarize the big audited accounts. We dwell a lot on the microeconomic environment, but that is the state of our economy. I want to say, other than interest capping in Kenya, and of course, the elections, the political elections that has taken place during the year, the microeconomic environment is supportive of doing business. The second area that I may want to focus on is what did we focus on during the year? We focused on strengthening the bank, and that is the structure. We know how we are structured. The bank has become very complex, very sophisticated. Each subsidiary has its own board, has its own management, and my responsibility as your group chief executive, with a small team in my office and the corporate office, is to provide oversight and strategic intent and pursue execution by the businesses. So in a nutshell, we have almost 13 companies. When it comes to the main areas, we focused on strengthening the bank, lighten the focus on credit because of interest capping in Kenya, making it very challenging. So we focused on other incomes. We focused on agility of our balance sheet. We focused a lot on what has created us, innovations, consistently looking how we could do things differently. And because of capping, we focused on efficiency. How do we become more efficient as a bank? And lastly is focusing on asset quality. How do we maintain good loan book despite the challenging environment? And of course, maintaining the blood equity. So when we look at those areas, each of them, we seem to have performed pretty well. We have growth in non-funded income. As we can see, fees and commissions in each area is significant growth, and that explains why the incomes of the bank has continued to become stronger. When we look at efficiency, we see we are performing better than the banking industry in terms of efficiency of operations. We have strengthened the Treasury Department significantly to make the operations efficient. And then we have focused on expanding and creating opportunities for the future. So there is significant effort on geographical diversification and business diversification. And for the first time in our history, we had 25% of our total loan book and 26% of our total deposits and total assets coming out of the country. So the regional approach has started making huge strides. And we can see that in future, even when Kenya matures and stabilizes, this bank will continue to grow because the subsidiaries are performing well. When we look at the efficiency of the subsidiaries, they are catching up very fast, and we can see they are smaller but very efficient operations. The coverage of the geographical region, if we look at it from a geographical space in terms of coverage, in terms of region, we are now in DRC, South Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Kenya. So we can see a very huge area that we are covering. Moving on, we look at the asset quality and agility of the balance sheet. And I'm very happy to say that our balance sheet, all our assets, have never been of a better quality than they are today. Nearly 60% of our funds are in liquid form. So as opportunities come, we could be able to take advantage of that market volatility. And when we look at the quality of the investment, it's now being driven heavily by innovations. It's all about innovations. And esteemed shareholders, I would like to draw your attention to the phenomenon transformation of the bank. As we can see, the mobile technology, mobile banking, and agency banking has completely changed the way we did banking. And we are now a very digitized bank. We use third parties, and our presence is anywhere and everywhere because the bank is accessed through mobile devices. And the branches are now becoming more of advisory centers as opposed to the centers of business. And we can see the channels have completely changed. Equitel, the Easy App, agency are now the biggest driver of our business as opposed to branches. And we see, in terms of innovation, a very good payback because of merchant banking. Merchant banking has become a big player supporting these tools. And diaspora remittances, a huge driver of business. So we seem to be moving with times and reinventing ourselves consistently. And that differentiates us significantly from the market. And of course, the summary of all that is that we now have most of our transactions. If you add mobile and agency, it means most of our transactions are happening outside the bank. They are no longer within the bank. The customers have the convenience. They can do transactions 24 hours. And increasingly, we are seeing the same is happening on loans. Such that accessibility of financial services is as good as it could be. And innovations agenda continues to be big. The fintech doing much better in payments, and they're giving out the capabilities of the bank to our communities, particularly of developers and innovators. And consequently, everybody links to the system, and we see 93% of all the loans that are successful in the bank, they are processed through the apps. And as a result of all these innovations, digitization has become a big phenomenon, and the agents are doing most of the transactions instead of, and we can see the growth in volume of agent transactions. We can see they are more mobilizing money from circulation and creating significant growth in the bank. But we are more excited when we look at the payment space and easy pay. We are seeing people are choosing to pay for goods and services electronically without having to take cash, meaning we will increasingly become more efficient. And we can see that is translating to very strong efficiencies in the bank, and we are able to maintain our cost-income ratio. And essentially, when you look at efficiencies and cost optimization, we see the bank stabilizing despite the challenging macroeconomic environment in Kenya resulting from interest capping. And because of then giving out operational job, we are focused on our loan book. And as we can all see from our loan book, our performance in asset quality is far much better than the industry. When the Kenyan banking sector has a default rate of 12%, our default rate is at 7.6, suggesting we are outperforming. And the distribution of assets, as we can see, is all supportive, particularly of micro, small, and medium enterprises. And in building our brand, we have connected with the community in an amazing way, supporting and getting support from international community, particularly the MasterCard Foundation, to do good to society and to support shaping our environment through our impact and social investment. We continue to be ranked highly worldwide. As I said last year, our credit rating as a bank is equal to the rating of the Kenya government. So our rating of credit rating worldwide is equal to the sovereign rating. And in terms of rank, we have joined the top 1,000 banks on earth. But when it comes to quality, although we are number almost 800 in terms of size, when it comes to quality, we are ranked the 11th best bank on earth in return on assets, 35 the most solid and sound bank on earth, and 44 the best bank in return to capital. And the bank was consistently ranked as Africa's best bank, same as Euro Money. And we compete in the marketplace effectively. And in terms of Nairobi Stock Exchange, we have continued to be the market leader. We're now the biggest bank in the Nairobi Stock Exchange by a huge range in terms of what the market is willing to pay for equity. So in a nutshell, those are the areas that we focused on. And after focusing for 12 months on that, then we created the balance sheet, and we can see a growth of net loans of 6%, liquid assets by 26%, and the total balance sheet growing at 9% at a time when the banking industry is experiencing challenges. That has been driven a lot by customer deposits, growing at 13%, again restating the confidence and the trust the bank enjoys from the public as the safe, secure place for their money. In terms of profitability, growing our profitability during the year by 6%. As we said, when it comes to interest income, is constrained. Interest expense growing almost at the same rate, but experiencing challenges in non-funded transactions, but efficiency constraining our costs that have only grown by 1%, leading us to live at a profit before tax of 28.5 billion shillings, of which we have paid a tax of 8.6 billion, and leaving us with a profit after tax of 19.8 billion, up from 18.9 billion, a growth rate of profit after tax of 5%. While the growth looks a low one-digit number, when it comes to return on equity and return on assets, we've managed to stabilize that at the group at 21% and a return on assets of 3.6. We have examined ourselves for readiness going forward into the future, and we realize our capital ratios and regulatory ratios are solid and stable, and we can continue to soldier on and optimistic that the future will be better than the past. We met the outlook broadly, what we had set ourselves for, the budget we had set ourselves for. We broadly achieved that except on loan growth, and the loan growth, as we agreed, is because of the challenging banking environment because of interest capping, of course, and the cost of funds that has created significant constraints. So in a nutshell, we look forward. This year looks more promising. We can see it has started well, and our outlook is that we should be able to deliver a better performance than the previous year. So in a nutshell, that is the summary of what we have in the booklet. Mr. Chairman, I'm grateful for the opportunity to present a abridged version of our accounts to our shareholders. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mwangi. I will now ask the meeting to confirm by a show of hands that the report of the directors on page 108 to 110 of the integrated report and financial statement be taken as read. And may I now call upon the audit partner of PricewaterhouseCoopers, the external auditors, to present the financial statement and the auditor's opinion.
Good afternoon, shareholders. Well, it's still morning, sorry. Good morning, shareholders. Yeah, I confirm that we have carried out an audit of the accounts of the Equity Holdings PLC and its subsidiaries, and we issued a clean audit opinion, which is contained on pages 115 to 118 of your booklet. I will only read the opinion paragraph. We have audited the accompanying financial statements of Equity Group Holdings PLC and its subsidiaries set out on pages 119 to 232, which comprise the consolidated statement of financial position at 31st December 2018, and the consolidated statements of profit and loss, comprehensive income, changes in equity, and cash flows for the year then ended, together with a separate statement of financial position of the company at 31st December 2018, and the statements of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, changes in equity, and cash flows of the company for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the group and of the company at 31st December 2018, and of their financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the requirements of the Kenyan Companies Act 2015. Signed, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Nairobi, 29th March 2019. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I shall now allow a few questions related to the accounts performance as explained by Dr. Mwangi, an integrated report. I want to allow a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Chairman, Executive Chairman, Doctor, our CEO, also Doctor, our CEO for subsidiaries, Wamai, all the board members, all our general managers and directors who are on my right, all the subsidiaries, representatives from South Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, DRC, Rwanda, and Kenya. Let me take this opportunity, first of all, to thank you for the good, clean handing over today. This journey started with only 3 wise people. When I saw them, I can privatize. They were Dr. Peter Munga, Dr. Mwangi, and Madam Mary. You said the 3, but I was there. So I didn't know that this will become a large group holdings PLC today. But for God's sake, we are here. So now allow me to ask some questions. But before I ask some questions, look at page number 7. Page number 7 has got awards in general. This is where now I'll now ask my distinguished shareholders to clap for you because you have done a work in 2018. Let us clap for all our As we go on, Executive Chairman, look at page number 119. Page number 109. Give me some light on this. Operating expenses increased from the previous year, 2017. Page number 122, Group Executive Chairman. Our share capital has remained the same all those years. Could there be an increase? Page 125, Executive Chairman. Foreign exchange translation reserve is in negative. That's on page 125. Page 127, Group Executive Chairman. Our net cash generated from operations activities decreased. Page number 217, Group Chairman. There was decrease in cash and cash equivalents. May I have some light on those? And also page number 214, borrowed funds. There are 3 pages of borrowed funds from 2014 to 2016. Now, my question is this. These borrowed funds, how do we mitigate and pay back? And how do we borrow back? And what interest are we? And how much are we going to spend on borrowed funds? With those few, there are others to ask. Thank you very much, Group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take another question. There.
Asante sana Bwana Mwenyekiti. My name's Kimotho, and I want, before I ask any question, to thank you. Thank you for the presentation. At least some of us have known where Equity started and where you are leaving it. And I'm sure you are leaving it on the safe hands. And thank you because it's because of you that we are all here. And thank you very much. Now, I want to also take this opportunity to thank the management and the board for the well-done job in the year under review. Maybe to quote a few, a balance sheet of under 600 billion, appearing on top 11 in the world, top 35 on various issues, and also having 13.5 million customers. I think that is good work, and congratulations for that. Now, my questions are these. I want to know, Daktari, you did not tell us, the effect of IFRS 9 in the accounts that we are looking at. I have gone through the book and I have seen it was not much. The effect was not much. But going forward, bearing in mind what you have shown us there, that maybe the provisions for the loan have gone up slightly. What do you think will happen going forward when now this IFRS 9 come to now to be felt? I need to be corrected if I am wrong that from now on maybe it will be affecting our profits and not the reserves. So maybe I need to be corrected if it is the reserves and not the profit. Now, the issue of pricing the risk. I think a month ago, the High Court ruled that the capping of interest rates was illegal or something. And I'm sure that now maybe the parliamentarians were given 1 year maybe to look at that. If this law is scrapped, what do you think will happen? Because right now we are making 19.8 billion, meaning that maybe you have looked for the other non-funded income so that we can be able to make some money. And if this law is scrapped, maybe do you see us hitting a target of 30 billion in profit and hence increasing our dividend maybe from 40% to 80%? Because if you can make 19.8 with the interest rate cap, what if it is removed and you are now given a leeway to price the risk? Of course, some of us who have run to the Shyrocks and everyone, I think with this scrapping, you will now come to Anjiko, who has supported this bank all through, and I don't know what you are anticipating. Now, the other one is a general comment. One of your competitor, maybe the story which is in public domain, there is a word that we never used to hear in Kenya called jackpotting. And you know what happened to one of the banks, which I don't want to mention. And then one day in the ATM, all the money has been removed. And I think this is something which has never happened in Kenya. And it is an eye-opener, maybe even to you and to the other banks. And now, because this thing has never happened and it has happened, what do you think, or which measures are you putting to mitigate this? Because, you know, there is one proverb which says that since the bird that said that since man has run to fly without, since man has run to shoot without missing, maybe it has also run to fly without patching. So I think this is an eye-opener. You are addressing it. And we don't want to hear such a thing happening at Equity Bank because we have full trust and we know that you have good technological things. And I hope you are looking at that. So thank you very much. And I wish you the best in the year 2019. And please look at the dividend. I have seen you have decreased from 40 to 38%. And Equity is now a grown-up kid. Daktari, why don't you decide one day that out of 19.8, I will stand with these people who have stood with me and maybe give them 5 shillings and so that we can continue supporting you. Because now I think umepita mahali ambapo unakunywa maziwa. You can now eat bones and githeri. And so consider these shareholders and we will be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. This way.
You're not seeing us, you're blocking us.
You're blocking us.
Thank you. Group Chairman, Dr. Peter Kahara Munga, Honorable board members of the group, CEO and MD, Dr. James Joguna Mwangi, members of staff of Equity, all of you are a good reason that we are here today. My name is Geoffrey Bethwell Maoga. Geoffrey Bethwell Maoga. I'm repeating this one because it brings difficulties in pronouncing it. So it should be clear. Now, Equity is a story. Equity is a story, like you have said, group chairman, that it started somewhere in Muranga. That small garden you provided for horticulture has become a big farm now that have now honorably rested. You are there still telling the story. You brought a very brilliant person in that garden to tend at that garden by the name Dr. James Chuguna Mwangi. He has been obedient, faithful, keeping that shamba as it is up to this point. The question now could be, if you could have not provided that garden, which later Dr. Mwangi and others decided to say, we can put some aerodrome here kidogo so that we train some pilots who will provide wings to fly. And now they can fly throughout the world. And it is through that garden that it ever happened. Now, if you could have not provided that garden, Mr. Chairman, how could we have known a talent like James Mwangi? How could it have happened? That is God's question. But we are saying, and I am extremely happy to address you, Chairman, today when you are hanging your boots. Those boots that you used to go to the garden and see how is my garden being tended care. And that is the most important story of the day. When you rest, Dr. Munga, you will know that the story will continue because Equity now, Dr. Mwangi is all the time on air, going world over to state that story. And that is the Equity we know. And so thank you. Thank you so much for what you started. It is a vision, and the vision will still continue being alive. And that now, a point of clarification is, Daktari, there is note number 12, I think page number 189, note number 12, the average number of staff that you had the year under review, and the previous year, there is a difference of about 400 members of staff. This 392 to be precise, were these members of staff retrenched, or did they rest by natural causes? That is my number one. And then the second one, this brilliant young man, Daniel Kimoto, has taken it from my mouth. Your retained earnings looks healthy, Dr. Mwangi. You are quite healthy, honestly. These members could have appreciated if you gave them a bonus now. I think we are due for this bonus, if you so wish. Please sell that idea to the board that you give these shareholders a bonus next time because your dividend reduced this year. With those few words, I honorably say, Dr. Munga, go thee well, rest well. They are there to carry on with the mission, and they are indeed wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, too. Can you give to that lady?
Thank you, Chair. The most treasured board of directors of Equity Bank, the directors of other subsidiaries, the director of Kenya subsidiary, Polycarp Igade, he used to be my governor. Thank you very much for being in the right place. And we believe that you're going to inject this bank inspiration, new thoughts, and new spirit. This is why we as Equity Bank, we are so much focused that we exist to transform the lives and livelihood of our people, socially and economically, by availing them with modern, inclusive financial services that can maximize their potential opportunities. Now, I have two questions on cyber crime. Question 1, how have you put in place a framework for effective integration of fraud risk management within a combined assurance, environment, and fraud awareness? 2, do you subject the bank operations to cybersecurity assessment through dedicated forensic personnel? Then finally, does the bank staff have access to anonymous whistleblowing reporting facility managed by the investigation department? Thank you.
What's your name?
My name is Sally Chepkorir.
Thank you. Got it? Yes. Just pass it, Robert.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Azao Jones. So, Chairman, I would want to start by commending Dr. Mwangi and the board because of the good work done on Equity Foundation. We today learned that 16,000 students has been taken care and their lives are growing strong and strong from this bank. That's a big comment, and we comment it continues in that spirit. Mr. Mwangi, you have talked of deposits rising to 13%. Mr. Mwangi, I want to dispute with you, 13% is not enough to cater these investors in way of dishing out dividends. Mr. Mwangi, you must improve your staff to reach many. We are now a bank compared in the world, not even Kenya. And we need to grow on deposits very high to give ourselves that pride, and these investors get in return what they are entitled. Mr. Mwangi, banking, IT banking has become a bank by itself. Number of questions has been raised on the protection of this money. How do you guarantee this to continue? Because it is the bank today and it is the technology operating over the world, all over the world. But understand we have not reached that stage. We are still learning IT and we have to be protected maximum by you introducing all those methods. Mr. Mwangi, I also want to go far and say We have a branch in Sudan. We have a branch in DRC. DRC is a young government. What guarantee do we have on growth of that region? What guarantee do we have in Sudan on our staff and on our business? And where do our business stand at the moment? Mr. Mwangi, we have spread over in Kenya, and our bank has grown to status that we should be operating in overseas, not regionally. We need to have corresponding banks. We need to have banks operating in overseas. Is this within your thought? Mr. Chairman, I also want to say, how often do you review risk governance? Because we are growing strong and strong every day, and we can lose money like the other banks has done. Money went through the wall. We don't want equity money going through the wall because it is our money. Can we have enough protection on that? Thank you with those few questions. Finally, I want to say, welcome Mr. Ngade, our governor, in the family of Equity, and tell him to work hard, to grow grayer every day, thinking of Equity, to grow these investors to high heights. Thank you.
Well, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the entire board for giving me this opportunity. My name is Irongo Kemani from Thika. First is comments. The first comment is about the AGM venue. I requested last year that the amphitheater is not conducive, and now you have heard our cries. So this is the best place we can have the AGM. The second comment is, I have read on page 78 about the combating crime. Combating crime, I have seen you have tried, because last year I have not heard any doing wrong in the equity, so you have improved. The third comment is on the total equity and liabilities. Now it stands at 573 billion. Now you are the second largest bank by asset base. That is a good improvement our bank has done. Lakini mjichunge NIC Bank. Juu NIC Bank vile nimeiangalia inaweza kuja ivuke nyinyi juu ya ile maja. So mjaribu sana. About the other comment is about the Rwanda bank. It is peaking. That is good. Two questions now. The first question is about the director's shareholding. On page 101, I have seen most of them, they are nil shares. What is do they have interest in our bank? Because when we see directors having shares, we shareholders, we have confidence. So I would request them to buy shares in the NSC, because we see confidence, because if we see how Dr. Munga and Dr. Mwangi, the shareholding they have, we have confidence on them. So, do so. The other question is, let me touch it on the retained earning. You are ile bank ambayo iko na retained earning ambayo iko kwa wingi 85 billion. If you compare with your competitor, they have either 64 billion. So look at it, but don't split shares, because splitting will dilute our dividend payout. So either what Mr. Maoga said, you make a bonus. I would like to see on page one, also in one page 122, there is other reserves, and there is FVOCI reserve. They are in negative form, so I would like you to clarify on that. The last but not the least is about the South Sudan subsidiary. It has not picked, so would like a clarification the way the business is doing there. And the last comment, that is a comment, is about the CEO salary. I have seen you are the CEO ambaye hutaki mshahara kubwa. Nikiangalia the other banks and the largest companies here in Kenya, the CEO, if you compare with the other CEOs, they have over 150 million salary per year. And what I see you here, I think wewe ndio unachukua ile mshahara kidogo sana. Kwa hivyo wewe hujipendi. Na ndio tunakupenda. Asanteni.
Thank you very much. I think we've been generous enough. Let's request the CEO and the Managing Director to respond to the issues and the concerns that you have raised. Dr. Mwangi.
Thank you very much, shareholders. Excellent questions, covering everything. You know, one of the things that really encourages us to come and present to you is seeing that shareholders really leads the material we have given. When you look each person who's any shareholder starts, he says, page 125, page 119. It really encourages, and maybe we must always ensure that we provide adequate information. And that explains to you why this book has continued to grow. Because we encouraged you read, we provide as much. If you look at the annual accounts of other banks, they are very tiny. But because you encourage us by reading the material that we give you, we really get excited. And we now want to ask you, when you go, keep this book on your table, you know, so that when guests come, they can be seeing and reading as a coffee book and say, you know, I'm a shareholder in equity. Are you a customer? So we're very, very grateful. The first questions, set of questions came from Chami. Chami, the first question, and maybe Mary, you'll be opening the page for me, if you don't mind, is on page 119, other operating expenses. We hear you. As we said, total expenses this year grew by only 1%. And the fastest growing component of other cost was other expenses. Other expenses is where IT costs are. And all the shareholders are asking about cybersecurity. That is where the expenses are. What causes other expenses to grow is IT costs. And we keep on investing. We're no longer investing in branches. We're investing in fortifying the security of the bank. And we'll talk a little bit. Capital stagnation. This question is a very good question because it answers capital, retained earnings, dividend, and expansion. Jones, thank you very much because you have challenged us to now go beyond the region. That means is that we need to be funded. And we can only be funded from your retained earnings instead of coming to ask you to give us money. Because if you don't have the money at that time, it means you'll be diluted. I want to ask Alex if we can put the slide that we've been talking about, just to show our journey of retained earning. We reflect a little bit, because last year, you told me, James, pay more dividend. And as you said, we have paid the same 2 shillings. So I owed you an explanation, and I prepared adequately to show you why we have that. We hear you. It's not that we don't hear you. Every shareholder who starts says, more dividend, James. But we see we haven't delivered that. We owed you an explanation. So we'll explain that. The reason why capital stagnated, and let me explain IFRS 9. This is a new requirement that became effective 1st January last year. It came from the global financial crisis that happened 2007, 2008, that almost brought the global banking industry down. Regulators argued themselves and said, the problem is we never predicted the risk. We never prepared the risk. We always prepare for risk when it occurs. They then said banks must work differently. They must cast their eyes into the future, see the potential risks that they have, and provide for them, cushion the bank for future occurrences. So this law said, equity, you have 420 billion shillings in assets, 320 in loans. What is the probability of default in the total to 320 billion shillings? And they said, work the number based on your historical records. So for us, we worked on our historical records of about 4% default rate, NPLs. So when you take 320 billion at 4%, it gives you about 12 billion shillings. The potential risk that is being carried in our books of 320 billion. And he said, then the second one, you are operating, and I'm glad you have seen the risk. You are operating in Sudan. In 2013, you saw what happened. What is the probability of such an occurrence occurring in any other of your subsidiaries? Take the risk, quantified it. After quantifying all the risks, there is a possibility of you being taken to court by a dissatisfied person. There is a possibility of your system having a cyber quantify. After quantifying all the risks, it came to 16 billion shillings based on all the assets we are carrying. 12 billion coming from loan book, the potential NPLs, spread over the next 5 years. So that 16 billion, we were given a one-time off opportunity to offset, to provide for it and offset against the retained earnings. So that explains why retained earnings went down initially by 16 billion of provisions. We set that aside for provisions, and then went up by almost 18 billion profit after tax, minus the proposed 80 dividend. That is why it has stagnated for that year. That's why there is no growth in retained earnings. That is also what impaired our ability to pay dividend. Why? Because the 13%, and Jones, we have had you, and I'm sure Polycarp has had shareholders want, although you are growing faster than the banking industry, Jones, the banking industry grew by 9%. We delivered 13, but we hear you want more than 13, maybe double, 18, Polycarp. For every additional deposit you take, the 13%, you also must increase capital proportionately by 7%. So retained earnings are always to match deposits. So every time our deposits grow, our retained earnings must grow as the shareholders' skin in the game. So we were confronted by growth on one side, requiring additional capital, and IFRS 9, a one-off provision against retained earnings. That now explains the question, I think, Kikemoto, you asked, how will IFRS 9 affect us going forward? IFRS 9 will affect us more positively because for the loans that existed as at December last year, provisions are already made. So this year, and next year but one, we don't need to provide for those loans. We only need to provide for new loans. So you are right, you can expect us to be more profitable because provision was taken in advance. A provision was taken in advance by the 16 billion shillings that has been offset. Foreign exchange reserves. The foreign exchange reserves is because of our foreign assets. There are a couple of assets. All our assets in the 5 subsidiaries outside Kenya, they are not in Kenya shillings, but we report them in Kenya shillings. The Kenya shilling strengthened against all the regional currencies. And consequently, there is unrealized loss on investments. And that is why the reserves, Mr. Chairman, are negative. If you look, they are negative. We are also holding Eurobond, about 10 billion shillings of Eurobond. Its price went up a little bit, and that is good for us. It's trading at a better price if we are to sell, but unfortunately, it's recorded as negative reserves because we had bought it at a lower. So those are the two that contribute to net cash generated decreased. Again, is because of those, when you do all that, we set 16 billion aside. It's not cash, it is within the system. And borrowed funds. We have borrowed funds of up to 54 billion shillings. That's about 540 million US dollars. One, that reflects the credibility of Equity Bank. If I give you a breakdown of that funds, IFC, International Finance Corporation, the private sector arm of the World Bank, has given us 150 billion Kenya shillings, or $150 million, equal to 15 billion shillings. European Investment Bank has given us 100 billion. The FMO has given us about 70, that is the French Development Bank, China Development Bank, and Africa Development Bank. So it is the global development banks that led us. Why do they lead us? They led us because of our standing and credit history. What is the interest rate? The interest rate ranges between 4.5 and 5%, and we led to our exporting customers at between 9 and 10. That's how it is. Why do we borrow these funds? Because savings that we pick from our customers are short-term. But somebody who is in manufacturing wants a 7-year loan. We don't want to take short-term deposit and give long-term loans because we create a mismatch. So we take long-term loans to give long-term loans for development. That is why we always borrow. The second thing is to ease the interest expense for our manufacturing sector. If you borrow in Kenya shillings, you borrow at 13%. If you borrow in dollars, about 10%. So you are able to be more competitive in the region. And because you earn your income in dollars, there is no mismatch. So we can't have a problem of repayment. And since we started this process, we have never had a challenge for the last 15 years. we plan it. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the answers to your very beautiful questions that has helped me maybe to share more information with the shareholders. Let's go to Bwana Kimotho. Bwana Kimotho, I think we have answered going forward on IFRS 9. It means reduced provisions. If you look at our provisions at the end of the year, the coverage is 93%. So it means that all the potential loans are covered from existing book. But any loan that we give will be very careful, and in case a loan that has been provided for goes bad, it is offset against IFRS reserves, not through the P&L. So, and that's why I said we'll perform much, much better because of reduced. I liked the question of pricing of risk, interest capping. It has been reviewed by the courts. It has been declared unconstitutional, but our parliament has been given 1 year. And you asked me, what do you anticipate to happen? Before interest capping came into book, we could accommodate different risks: unsecured, micro, small, youth, at around 16%, 18%. When interest rates were capped at 13, because their default rate used to be around 14, that's why we were charging them 16 at 18, that crash is not being provided for. I expect once the interest capping is removed and we are able to price the risk of our customers whose businesses are smaller, they are unsecured, they are micro, then we should be able to increase our borrowers by 1 million customers. The good thing, the bank is prepared because we shall shift the funds from treasury boards, where we are holding nearly 170 billion, back to lending. The difference in interest rate, Bwana Kimotho, will be between maybe 16 and treasury boards at 12, a differential of 400 basis points, or 4%. What does it mean? The bank will be slightly more profitable. But the issue is not the bank being profitable. 1 million more Kenyans will be able to get loans. 1 million more Kenyans will be able to realize their dreams of contributing and participating in the economic environment of this country. In preparation of that environment, we asked ourselves, how can we cope with a rush to get loans by 1 million people? And that explains the partnership you are seeing us forming with Safaricom and saying, can we use your infrastructure? That explains why we were with Bob Collymore, and we signed that let's not look, it's not about Equity and Safaricom, it's about Kenyans. And if we can collaborate to support Kenyans, then we will have reason to lead to great leadership than just institutional leadership. So we are ready. The cash is ready, it's in treasury bills. Systems are ready, and so we expect to get Kenyans to realize their dreams or actualize their dreams, invest in their dreams, and to the shareholders, that might be a very significant increase in profitability. What am I saying? Until the interest cap is released, don't sell your shares. Remember, when interest capping was put in place, Equity share was trading at 60 shillings. Nothing happened other than interest capping that we came to 40. My anticipation is that the spirits that had taken us to 60 will take us back to 60. So you would lose about 20 shillings per share if you sell before the abolition of interest capping is removed. Or we are able to utilize that removal. Or we are able to fund. This third question is dividend. And yes, I agree. We moved from 40 to 38 as 2% decrease. I have explained to you we had to set your own funds from retained earnings as shareholder, 16 billion to comply with the law. We had a chance of saying the central bank realized most of the banks could not comply, and it gave them 5 years to comply. We said we can comply from day one. We don't want not to be complying with the law. So I want to confirm to you, we are fully compliant with that law. Most of the banks have been given 5 years by central bank to comply with the law. That again speaks, because when we say we don't comply because we have accommodation, when we are related with the global banks, then people ask, what is this type of bank that doesn't comply? We are no longer a Kenyan bank. We are a global bank with its headquarters in Kenya. So we must measure ourselves not with the Kenyan banks, but with the global banks, because we want to retain our position, number 35 most solid bank on earth. You can't have that rating if you are not complying with the provisions of law. So we are protecting our reputation. What is the advantage of protecting our reputation? We are able to borrow globally from IFC, from African Development Bank, at 4.5% interest rate on US dollars, when the Kenya government is borrowing at 6%. I hope now you have understood, leader, why we have to do things the right way. We do things the right way for your sake, so that you get a lower interest rate and you can make a bigger margin. I think, Alex, can I have that slide? Let's see how our retained earnings and dividend, because there is something else I also want us to agree, comparing like for like. This has been our growth of retained earnings. If you look at our retained earnings, the last time we went to the market to raise funds was 2006. Our shareholders' funds, 2006, was only 2.2 billion. We said we shall give 25% of our bank to Helios, but they give us 11.5 billion shillings for 25%. Here you are, you own this book, it's worth 2 billion, and you say, I will slice for you 25%, but you pay 11.5 billion. That is how our capital, shareholders' funds, increased from 2 to 15 billion in 1 year. Since then, I have never asked you to fund the bank. If you remember, the balance sheet that time was 5 billion. I've never come back to you to ask for money, and now your balance sheet is 600 billion shillings. You have funded it through retained earnings. We agreed, let's pay you 40%, and 60% let's keep in the granary, because the next season of planting is coming, and we don't want to fail to plant. We have planted in Uganda. We got a shamba in Uganda. We got a shamba in Rwanda. We got a shamba in Tanzania. We got a shamba in South Sudan. We got a shamba in DRC. And we kept on picking from the granary and going to plant. And we have seen how that is doing. That explains why the shareholders' funds have our deposit base. When we were at that level, when Helios was investing, we had only a deposit base of 18 billion. Today, we have a deposit base of slightly over 454 billion shillings. We keep on matching 13% of the deposit with the capital without coming back to shareholders. We invest for you. So that is the trade-off that we have been having. The next slide. And as you can see, look at the assets in those gardens. They are growing very well. When the old tree in Kenya mature and stop growing, as a group we should continue to grow because the tree in Rwanda is a young tree and will continue to grow. We have planted trees at the, if you really want to keep on selling timber, you must be planting trees every year, so that every year you are able to harvest. Now, Bwana Kimodo, I retain a few to plant the next tree to be harvested next year. And we can debate whether, shareholders can say, James, stop planting for us, we can plant for ourselves. You can also say that, give us the dividend, let's go and invest for ourselves. But we are stronger being together than each of us going to start their own bank. We are better standing together. In unity, we are stronger. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is a very interesting slide, and I hope it can be more visible. If it were more visible, I would really appreciate. Alex, is there a way of scaling that so that everybody can see? This slide talks about like for like, and I've decided to be very transparent about market cap. You can see we are not the biggest bank in capital, but we are the biggest bank in value because of our quality. We comply with the law, and you can see how big it is. But the most important line I want you to look at, and Alex, we can zero on it, is the notional share value. The value of equity, although it's trading at 42 shillings or 40 shillings, Jones, when you sell your 42 shillings, or when somebody buys from you 42 shillings, the only amount that comes to me as share capital is 5 cents. The difference comes to you. That is what we call per capita. If you look at the banks you compare with, most of them, their per capita is 5 shillings or 10 shillings. So when a bank that receives 5 cents pays 2 shillings, it's paying 4 times the actual capital it receives, 400% return. When the bank with the 5 shillings pays 3 shillings and 50 cents, but it receives 5, it is paying about 55%. Jones, you understand that mathematics. That is something our shareholders have never asked. How much do we give James for every share? You only give me 50 cents. The rest you give to the person who is sharing shares to you. The capital representation of our shareholding is 50 cents. The rest comes to your pocket. Me, I work with the 50 cents. The other one, Kemodo, you call it premium. Is that what you call it? Premium. But the premium is not in my books. So, Kemodo, for the 50 cents you gave me, I've given you 2 shillings. Where else can you get a return of 400%? Because I've given you a return of 400%. So that is something. If we were in where the per capita is 5 shillings, and you are given 3 shillings and 50 cents, and you are crapping, it's because the mathematics are not adding up. If you are where per capita is 10, and we all know, look at that 10. It's a big bang. It gives you 12. Per capita is, you have given them 10 shillings, they give you 12. They have just given you 120%. That is the difference, but that is mathematics. I don't want to kisugumigi, because that doesn't help you. You have bills to pay, you have children to educate. So how do we think about it? We think about it slightly different. Alex, can you move to the slide of almost at the back? I think page 12. Page 12, Alex. Now, if you look at how we have done this way, and Kimotho, you cautioned me not to give you bonus and split. What have we done about retained earnings? We saw retained earnings, and shareholders' funds have moved from 14 billion when we sold Helios to 100 billion. Alex, 2 more slides down. Yeah, there. In 2000, each of us who had the shares had 1 share. But because I'm retaining what I'm supposed to give you as dividend, I keep on saying, what happens to this shareholder who had 1 cow? If he had bought 1 cow in year 2000, how many cows would he having in the farm? So I always ask myself, how do I compensate the shareholders? But that is not my question, it's the board. They ask, how can we compare the... So for every 1 share that we had, in 2000 we gave you an additional 4 shares. It moved from, an additional 3 shares. It became 4. In 2004, the 4 shares you had, for each of 1 of them, we gave you a bonus of 5. You got 20 shares from 1. You have only bought 1, but now you have 20 shares. Where is this money coming from? Where am I getting these 50 cents? I'm not asking you for 50 cents. I'm going to retained earnings and transferring retained earnings to capital to issue shares. 2007, now you have 20 shares. On each of the 20 shares, we gave a bonus of 3. You got 60 shares now. And the biggest one, Jones, if you can remember, and thank you for celebrating it and coming to thank me. For now the 60 shares you had, for each of these 60 shares, we gave you a split of 10. And now you had 600 shares out of 1. Let me ask you, dear shareholders, who of you had 1 cow in 2000 now can show me a herd of 600 cows? That is why I say it is better sticking us together. Together we can invest more profitably than when you invest alone. So from every 1 share, you have... Now, thank you very much. So what sometimes you need to do is to say, yeah, now James has not paid us more than 2 shillings. I would have loved the 3 shillings. Hii dama mdogo hapa, huyu ndiye nitauza nilipe school fees. Kimotho, if you go back from your 600, I know you don't want to sell. You know, a shareholder, always a shareholder. And you don't want to be diluted. But if you pick 10 shares out of 600, you still have 590. You can sell 10. If you sell 10, Kimotho, at 40 shillings or 42, you get 420. That's how you pay yourself some dividend. You know, where Chepkoriu come from, they say, you don't have to wait for all the maize to get dry. When you see it ready, you can cut 1, but don't cut a lot. Because you need to, you know, we have 2 tools, dividend and appreciation. It's something we need. Let's look at it. Our shares last year, January, were 24 shillings. If you remember it, 24 shillings. We are now at 42. Although the number of shares have not changed, if you had 2 shares, you can sell 1 for 42 shillings, and the 1 you remain will still be at 42, which is more than the 2 shares you had last year. Mathematics, hapo tunafanya mahesabu ingine, sijui, you know, so we get the dividend, we meet our objective of building houses, educating our children, but growing to the correspondent bank. I would really love I will be calling you for the annual general meeting in London. Jones, thank you very much. In my lifetime, the AGM might be held in London. So that is how, there is something that has happened when we are in this meeting that let me tell you instead of getting to hear it. We have used a little bit of your money, about 10 billion shillings. When we are seated here, we have released a press release to buy 4 banks. One, you said Rwanda is doing very well. We have bought, or we have offered, let me use the right word, we have offered to buy the second largest bank in Rwanda. So now we become number 1 in Rwanda. Huntington, where are you? And the chair of the board of Rwanda? They're ready. So now, when God willing, granting us favor, the next time we come here, these 2 will be leading your bank in Rwanda, and it will be the biggest bank, or the second biggest bank in Rwanda. Now, the good thing about buying that bank, I will not ask you for any money, because I have retained a bit of it. That's what we'll buy. The second bank we have bought is in Tanzania. You said Tanzania, we are not performing well. It's like Kenya. Look at how the small banks are not performing well. You don't reach the threshold of, so when a shock comes in an economy, you become the most affected. Kenya, there is a shock when we are not affected. So the next bank we have bought is a bank our size in Tanzania, so that, or offered to buy, so that that bank makes us to double our size and become efficient. Where is the chairman of Tanzania? So again, Tanzania will be doubling in size, God willing, by the time we come. The other bank we have bought has now said, yes, we need to diversify our risk. So we have offered to buy a bank in Zambia, so that we also participate in money from copper. Zambia is a world leader in copper. So we can make a bit of money from copper trading. And the last bank that we have offered to buy is in Mozambique. So now we are going south. We came East Africa now, a little bit of south, 2 countries south. So we no longer talk of, we have presence in 6 countries. If this transaction goes through, we shall be in 8 countries. And we will not come to you for money. And we shall have doubled our size in Tanzania and almost tripled our size in Rwanda, where it is very efficient. That is how we use retained earnings. By now, Kimodo, I can see you are saying, yes, James, go on. Thank you very much. So let's now go to the other question. Increased dividend, so we have dealt with the... Now, this question has been asked by all the shareholders who stood about this jackpotting, cybercrime, and the rest. It is, most of us, when we came to Nairobi, or you go to a crusade, if you don't, usijashuka vizuri, utaenda nyumbani bila mfuko ikiwa hata imekatwa, ama hadi kashifu imeenda, hata ikiwa ni hadi kashifu peke yake. Now, what has happened, pickpocketing has moved from physical. Because money is in digital form, the thieves have realized, as you said, Kimodo, Eke the bird has learned to fly without perching. Customers have learned not to have cash, just to have digital cash. So there is nobody to pickpocket. They said, how do we survive in our profession is pickpocketing. So now they are pickpocketing digital money. They compromise your PIN number, they call you and say, your account is blocked. Your account has been linked with the key. I'm sure you see all these things. Please never respond to that. Those are fraudsters trying to pickpocket you. If you give a compromise, they just they do pickpocketing from your account. Now, not from your pocket, from your account. That's what we call cyber crime. Electronic, digital. And Kenyans, we are trying to do everything. I'm sure you hear of us advertising with a famous artist called Gideon, so that is about fun, trying to educate our customers that this is all fraudsters. They're all fraudsters who are trying to defraud. So we have tried everything. We have realized it is a bigger problem, not for an institution. And that is the second thing we are collaborating with the Safaricom. We said if Equity and Safaricom team together, we can create ring-fence the whole country. Why? Because we control 60% of all bank accounts in Kenya, and they control 90% of all mobile, and they have their technology, and we have. So we'll partner to fight cyber. But internally, the board, in its wisdom, have decided to appoint a specialized board. And maybe Joanna, are you still there? Joanna used to be the operations director of Microsoft, a world-famous leader in technology, focused on security. Now she's an advisor to the board and sits on the board of FinServ. Joanna, please keep on studying. The next person we have got from there is Patrick, the chairman of FinServ. Patrick is the first African to be certified. He's a professor, Dr. Patrick, certified as an enterprise risk manager. His PhD is in risk management. He used to be finance director of MTN because the risk is coming from telecom. We needed somebody who is a specialist. The next person is Isis. We know Isis, our Kenyan-owned, highly educated at Stanford and Harvard, and she's a specialist, a serial entrepreneur in the IT space. And we said, our business has become a technology company. Help us to protect ourselves. And Isis is part of the team. Jack, where are you? Jack is also a Harvard-educated Kenyan. We brought him from British Telecom. He was in British Telecom and said, come back home because we can see danger coming. Let's protect our people. So Jack Gary leads the team. He's the managing director. Then we have Joyce Finn. Joyce Finn Wakabuga is, I think, the only East African with a PhD in big data. She's currently the managing director of Uganda National Oil Corporation. Her previous job was with the British military, assessing and computing the speed of missiles. We said, cyber is like missiles. You never know what. Can we compute? And the last one. And the last one is another Kenyan, David Some. David Some resides in London. He has on record 18 technology businesses. He's also a Harvard educator. So we are protecting ourselves. That is an advisory and board member. I don't know whether ISIS you want to come and give us assurance. Or Chairman, do you want to give the shareholders assurance? They say they are doing their very best, but we are doing our very best. Thank you very much. Maybe we can put our hearts together because this is not salary. This is service to protect Africa from what they gain. When they went to Stanford, that was brain drain. Now it's brain gain as they come back home. So we are using that skills and competence, and we want now to, that's why we haven't had incidences. The attempts are many, but not very successful. That's why we want to combine with the Safaricom and protect the country, the entire population of Kenya, by collaboration. We may not really have been successful, but the calling of protecting our people is too big for us now to do what needs to be done. At the management level, let me introduce one or two people we have brought to help us so that the board is not stronger and we are not able to introduce. Lanle, we have brought him from Nigeria. We all know Nigerians. And his experience is data centers, protecting data, and he's leading us as our chief information officer. If we can't get it in Kenya, we'll get it wherever it is. The next person is Dennis. Dennis is a data scientist, so as to compute how transactions are. Dennis, you come from Latvia? That's where we have all Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe is where we have got. Where is Kamal? Is he with us? We have also got another PhD data scientist from India. So what are we saying? We can't give you a guarantee because you can't guarantee somebody when you are on a road that you can't have an accident. You don't have to be the one causing the accident. But we are careful drivers of your car. And where we can't be able to do it, we have picked the best brains we could ever get from. And that explains to you why, if you looked at the board has a lot of, Chairman, with your permission, Chairman Munga is not there, so now I can ask the board members. I assume I have approval from the chairman. The board, so chairman is here, I have your approval. Ask the directors, those who have at least a PhD and professorial level, just to start for a minute. Akira Professor Macharia, Akira PhD level. Even those who are seated. Now you can see the type of knowledge. We have combined the experience of Mr. Monga, the knowledge. Because some people might be asking, James and these professors, banking is no longer giving loans and taking deposits. It's complex and sophisticated. Success is where knowledge and experience meet. And these professors and doctors have agreed to come to the bank and do what needs to be done. And then the industry experts who were studying before. So what are we saying? We have equipped the bank to a level that anything humanly possible, we have done to ensure we can't lose your money. So again, the professors, so it's academia and so essentially, so I think let's go to Bethlehem Maoga Geoffrey. Very kind words, thank you very much. It's very humbling hearing you appreciate what you have seen done. And note 12, that is on page 189, average staff. One thing is, it is true you have observed. The staff I have in the bank are my younger brothers and sisters. And I've always asked myself, we worked very hard to move an institution from number 66 out of number 66 to number 1. Can I look at them and say I have retrenched you? And the answer has always been no. I will not have the courage to be such ungrateful for people who stood with me. When I told them to jump, they never asked me why they are jumping. They only asked me, are we jumping high enough? They gave me all their trust, their confidence. And that's why you shareholders, you only see James. But it's a battalion behind me who executes what I say, let's execute this. I get it from the wise men and women on the board. I craft it in strategy, tell them this is the goal. We never argue. We do what needs to be done. And then now I look at them and say, we no longer need you because the bread is not big enough. I say, let's share the little we have. A better day is coming tomorrow. But we also say, we are very innovative and creative. Like now, what has made us need to reduce staff? All our customers used to come to the bank to withdraw and deposit. Now we have 46,000 agents who have created cashiering jobs. And now we even want to ask all our agents to start processing loans so that they also earn something. They don't only receive deposits and pay withdrawals, but they can process loans and sell insurance. So the demand for decreasing staff will continue. So what do? We create new avenues for employment, like now merchant management, agency, and now with your approval, not to today, I will call you and we debate whether we can buy those banks when we are ready. That is 4 banks that we can send about 100 people. So what am I saying? We have never retrenched people. But because I see there is no new jobs, whoever wants to go back to school, because we are challenged by these professors and doctors. There are more professors in the board than in the bank. But we are also working very hard. I think now I have 16 staff who have doctorate degrees and about 32 who are in school. As we do that, we reinvent ourselves. We create new businesses. But whoever goes to school, we don't replace him. Whoever decides, because we have lost a lot of staff, like most of these staff are being pushed by county government. If you go to Madeira, 5 ministers are your former staff. If you go to Narok, 3 of the ministers. Out of the 47 counties we have, 13, their finance ministers are former members of staff of Equity Bank. When they go, I say, thank you very much, go and represent us, be a good ambassador, but I don't replace them. If they were managers, I promote the operations manager. So that is how the 300 number has dropped. So and hopefully, and I pray God, that during my life as MD, I will never look at somebody and say I will retrench you, And I seek God to give me favor so that we create more opportunities to keep them. The last one you asked is retained earnings. I think we have talked about IFR. Sally, thank you very much for your great question. Cybercrime, I think we have addressed that fully. And whistleblowing. Now, God has favored us a lot. And I ask myself, what is it that we can do consciously and lose God's favor? And we say we should not do. So one of the policies is to allow staff to anonymously have avenues of whistleblowing. There are 4 policies in the bank. Ruben, where are you? You could have come and articulated these as I take a glass of water. But the first policy is on sexual harassment. And I'm sure you saw, all of you saw how decisive we were when a staff raised the finger and said he has been harassed in the bank. We are not going to entertain that type of nonsense in the bank. We'll be decisive. And that was whistleblowing. And it came through social media. It didn't even come. We saw in social media and said, okay, it's in social media. Yes. We'll create a private group and just contribute, tell us more. And they gave us, then we investigated. And within a month, we promised we would take action within a month. And within a month, action had been taken and that chapter closed. And staff were very excited. So that encouraged them to whistleblow. Most of the frauds that I ever attempted in Equity, we get them before. And we are always waiting for fraudsters. Why? Because staff speak. If you approach a staff, because of fear, he will listen to you, but immediately he will report. So whistleblowing is important. Now, the second thing is we decided to externalize it. And we hired a global company, and all of them has a number they can call. So they can call and anonymously, and we shall never know, but we receive the information. So in most of these areas, and the last policy is conflict of interest. Before we start a board meeting, every board member must say, do I have conflict of interest? Staff also must declare conflict of interest. Let me again remind you, your directors don't borrow from equity, because they asked themselves, how can we appraise our own loans? They said we are conflicted, or one of our own. They don't trade with the bank. None of our directors can supply the bank anything. We call that as conflict of interest, and that is extended. So while our aging looks good, it's because of strong governance structures. And I want to thank Dr. Munga for really accepting, served for 35 years, and yet can't borrow from the bank. That's, for us, an amazing period. Yes, he's told us he has factories, but he goes to borrow elsewhere. Why? Because if he opens that gate, you never. And, it's very difficult to say to your director, oh, I want you to serve but no road. So that is in the articles of the memorandum. So quite a little of conflict. And the last one, I know I've taken quite a lot in Zao about wings to fly. Thank you very, very much for appreciating. One day, the good book says, that which you do to orphans and widows, you are leading to God and he's not debtor. Maybe that's why we are so blessed. We took a chance. My mother lost her husband and got widowed when I was a toddler. If it was not for community paying bursary for me, I would not be here. And I asked myself, how many James Mwangis are there? When we started the leadership program, we take the best girl and the best boy in every district and bring them coaching and mentoring. When we analyzed, we realized they are all from middle income. And we asked, what happens to the children of the poor? And then we realized the brightest and brightest drop out as standard 8 because they are not able to transit to secondary education. That was the genesis of Wings to Fly. When we wanted, our plan was to educate 152, and we thought we would have achieved. Today, at 16,158 are in school, and 12,000 of them has completed secondary, and 84% of all those who have completed secondary, they are in university. So the most powerful program on education on earth. So now we then said, what else can we do? We decided we should also explore scholarships for them globally. Today we have 500 kids, gifted kids, across the world. Harvard has 32. Stanford, where ISIS went, has 26. MIT has 8. Yale has 24. This is the biggest thing you ever did. You might go to DRC and Jones Laden, but the greatest thing the shareholders of Equity has ever done is to take care of orphans and widows, educate their children, share prosperity. Just basically what we are saying. The good thing is God opens his doors of favor. To date, we have spent 34 billion shillings in the foundation. 35 billion shillings is friends and donors who globally, today, this has not gone public, but the World Bank has said, James, you serve on IFC board. I had asked the president to help me get more scholarships. IFC has committed 18,000 new scholarships for Wings to Fly. God's favor coming amazing. So in total, what do I expect? That within the next 10 years, our Wings to Fly kids will have offered 50,000 scholarships. And on 20th June, this program is being put to the next level, and we shall make a huge announcement of how we want to support the country. God blessed us so much in equity. We want to share with the rest of our people in whatever we can do. And group deposit higher, Polycarp has had, and we can compare notes next year. Our investors briefing for June, you come and we start assessing. We'll be measuring him quarterly. And all the other MDs, the MDs of the subsidiaries, where are you? You wave to the shareholders. You start and wave to the shareholders. I'm sure you have heard the expectations. The second one is IT, we have dealt with that. DLC Sudan. Sudan got a challenge of peace, 2013. It has gone down. We're very optimistic. They had said May they will come. It's not certain. What we did was to downsize the institution and maintain the license. It's not much profitability we expect out of, but we don't expect losses. And for the last 2 years, it has not taken us into losses. But there is idle capital. But you know, once you have taken a license, unless you want to walk out, and unless you sell the license, so there are challenges there. So we have staying put. The second question you asked about DLC. DLC is our most promising subsidiary so far. We bought DLC 3 years ago when its balance sheet was 15 billion. Today, DLC has a balance sheet of 65 billion. Celestian, where are you? That's the MD. And I think this year, your profit target is $30 million. So you have made your promise directly to the shareholders. Review is next year, this time. And the last one is, we had you, the board had you, and review of risk governance have created the structure. Shareholders, those were very beautiful questions. I want to really appreciate, because you need to know about your business. We are only your servants. So you need to ask all the questions, know what is the deal, because you can play a role. You can significantly play the role. The role I want to give you today is to help us to grow deposit more than 16%. You interact with all Kenyans who are deposited. Why don't you keep on encouraging them to join your bank? And with those many, many words, Chairman, I apologized, I took wrong, but I thought, sorry, Irongo, I could have forgotten, Chairman. Sorry for a second. Irongo Kimani, great questions. The first one, appreciation. Now we are 573. And as Chairman said, as we speak, we are now above 600 billion. So we are continuing to grow. The growth challenge, we grow even faster. Luanda growing. Madam Chair, you had the efficiency of Rwanda is remarkable. Directors, nil. Now, Kimani, an excellent question. Why don't the directors have shares? It's by law that 2/3 of the directors must be independent. By law, they are not allowed to have shares. The second thing is we look for directors not to contribute for money in shareholding, because you can do that, but to bring their technical expertise. Like now, the chairman of DLC, served in World Bank for how many years? 28. 28 years in the World Bank. We brought him all the way from Eastern Europe. Thailand. Yeah, from Paris to come and help us. So you can see, you can't go and tell somebody, come and help us, and say, for you to help us, first of all, buy shares. Kimani, you understand the predicament. So that is why we find directors, but you are all encouraged when your term expires to Odudo. Like, look at Odudo now. The latest director to Odudo can Odudo worked with the World Bank. He came, he started our pension, retirement. He served there. He's now a professor at the University of Nairobi. And we said, you can come and help us and look at our staff better and look at how we can even create a pension scheme for our customers and our shareholders. I think it would be good for us to put a pension for ourselves together. So he's advising the board. Now, if we put the condition for Dudo that if you are to join the board, first of all, buy shares, we might put the cart before the horse. Horses only pull carts. So allow us to ensure that retained earnings, I think we have dealt, Kimani, with the retained earnings. Reserves, we have dealt with the reserves. South Sudan, I've explained to you what, and Kimani, thank you for the tribute of service. Let me say this. It's not that I don't mind a good salary, but equity, as you have seen with Mr. Monga, it was never about service. It's about service to our people. You can imagine how gratifying for me it is to go and buy a London-based listed company on your behalf. Jones, yes, I should be negotiating this from London, not negotiating a London-based listed company. You can imagine the satisfaction. You can imagine the satisfaction of educating the wings to fly. But I'm sure the board has heard that I can do with a salary increment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mwangi, for responding to the issues in a very comprehensive manner and also using the opportunity to educate our shareholders and investors on what the bank is doing, and also trying to explain that while directors and other people are working in the bank, it's not because of what they are being paid. They put the service of the people before anything else. And it has been our responsibility in the bank to serve you. Reward is never our concern. With that, may I have a shareholder to formally propose. The meeting has hereby adopts audited financial statements and directors' remuneration report for the year ended that 1st December 2018, together with the directors and the auditors' report thereon. Well, the proposer, say your name.
Geoffrey Pefuel Maoga, I do propose that proposal.
Thank you, Geoffrey. May I have a shareholder seconding the proposal? Okay. You second. I now put the resolution to the meeting. Those in favor, raise up your hands. Those against, please raise up your hands. None. I declare the resolution carried. I will now move on to the next item of the agenda. Item 3. To approve first and final dividends for the year ended that 1st December 2018 of Kenya shillings 2, subject to the withholding tax where applicable. The directors have recommended dividends of Kenya shillings 2 per share subject to withholding tax where applicable. May I have a shareholder to formally propose that the meeting hereby approves a dividend for the year ended that 1st December 2018 of Kenya shillings 2 per share, subject to withholding tax where applicable. Zhao John proposes. May I have a shareholder to second the proposal? The lady behind Jones.
My name is Ruth Wageshi. I second.
Thank you. Thank you. May I have, sorry, thank you. I now put the resolution to the meeting. Those in favor? Those against? None. I declare the resolution carried. Item number 4, to confirm the remuneration of the directors for the year ended that 1st December 2018. Dear shareholders, the detailed directors' remuneration report is on page 110 to 113 of the integrated report and financial statements. May I have a shareholder to formally propose that this meeting hereby confirms the remuneration of directors for the year ended that 1st December 2018. May I have a shareholder? Where? In the middle, behind there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Paul Matibe from Nakuru. I propose.
Thank you very much, shareholder. May I have a shareholder to second that proposal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Stephen Eson Kimani. I second.
Thank you very much. I declare the resolution. No, sorry. Those for? Those against? None. I declare the resolution as carried. Let me now go to the next item of agenda, and I will request Professor Macharia, who is the chair of the Kenya subsidiary, to take the shareholders through this item of the agenda. Professor Macharia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will now go to item number 5, which is to elect directors. And item number 1 is Dr. Peter Kaharamunga, having attained the age of 70 years, retires from office in terms of clause 2.5 of the Capital Markets Code of Corporate Governance and Practices for issuers of securities to the public 2015 and does not offer himself for re-election. B, Mr. Dennis Alwanga retires in terms of Article 100 of the Company's Memorandum and Articles of Association and does not offer himself for re-election. C, Mr. David Ansell, having attained the age of 70 years, retires from office in terms of Clause 2.5 of the Capital Markets Code of Corporate Governance and Practices for Insurers of Securities to the public 2015 and offers himself for re-election. Dr. Edward Odudo, having been appointed by the board as a director on 27 July 2018 and being eligible, retires and offers himself for election as a director in accordance with Article 132 of the Companies Act number 17 of 2015. Dr. Peter Kahara Munga and Mr. Dennis Alwanga are not offering themselves for re-election, and consequently, no vote will be taken. Mr. David Ansell offers himself for re-election as enumerated above, and you can see his bio there. And Mr. David Ansell has been a director in the group board and several subsidiaries. May I now have a shareholder to formally propose that Mr. David Ansell, having attained the age of 70 years, retires from office in terms of Clause 2.5 of the Capital Markets Code of Corporate Governance, Practices for Issuers of Security to the public 2015 and offers himself for the election. May I have a shareholder? Yes, lady.
I just want to propose and endorse and validate him.
Thank you very much. May I have another shareholder to second the proposal? Gentleman in the middle there.
My name is Paul Obati. I second.
Thank you. I now put the resolution to the meeting. Those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those against, please raise your hands. None against. I declare the resolution carried. Let me now go to the last item on the election agenda of Dr. Edward Odudo. Dr. James Mwangi has briefly given a brief bio of Dr. Odudo. Dr. Odudo, may I have a shareholder formally propose that Dr. Edward Odudo, having been appointed by the board as a director on 27th July 2018 and being eligible, retires and offers himself for election as a director in accordance with Article 132 of the Companies Act number 17 of 2015. May I have a shareholder? Yes, gentleman on that side.
Edward Mbogo Mwigai, and I do propose.
Thank you very much. May I have a shareholder to second the proposal? Lady there in a red sweater. The lady there.
Rasia Jambi, I second.
Thank you very much. I now put the resolution to the meeting. Those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those against, please raise your hands. I declare the resolution carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Professor Macharia, for carrying out and being the returning officer for those elections. We now move to item 6 of the agenda, to appoint the following directors to continue to serve as members of the board audit committee. A. Evelyn Lutagwenda, David answer. This name has been withdrawn, so no vote will be taken on it. Vijay Gidimore and Edward Odudo. May I have a shareholder to formally propose that Mrs. Evelyn Rutagwenda is hereby appointed to continue to serve as a member of the board Audit Committee. Yes.
Emmanuel Masaba, I propose.
Thank you very much. May I have another shareholder to second the proposal? Uko, the last one there.
Mrs. Rose Wagoi Muirore, I second.
Thank you very much, Muirore. I now put a resolution to the meeting. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the resolution as carried. May I have a shareholder to formally propose that Mr. Vijay Gidimore is hereby appointed to continue to serve as a member of the Board of Audit Committee.
I propose. My name is Beverly Mhunja Otanga.
Thank you. You are seconding not because he is current general, but because he's an effective board member. Sharma seconded. I now put a resolution to the meeting. Those in favor? Thank you. Those against? I declare the motion carried. May I have a shareholder to formally propose that Dr. Edward Odudo is hereby appointed to continue to serve as a member of the Board Audit Committee. Yes. How the
Simon Mwangi, I propose.
Simon, thank you. May I have a shareholder to second the proposal? Go there at the back there.
My name is Peter Kaheri, second.
Thank you very much for seconding. I now put the resolution to the meeting. Those in favor? Those against? None. I declare the resolution carried. Item number 7, to appoint and fix the remuneration of auditors. May I have a shareholder to formally propose that the auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, being eligible and having expressed their willingness, will continue in office in accordance with Section 721 of the Companies Act, number 17 of 2015 and to authorize the directors to fix their remuneration. May I have somebody to propose?
I'm Wesbon Gedua from Kagema, and I propose.
Thank you, Gedua from Kangema, for proposing. May I have a shareholder to second the proposal? Huko nyuma.
I'm Joseph Kariuki Budia. I do second.
Thank you. I now put the resolution to the meeting. Those in favor? Thank you. Those against? None. I declare the resolution carried. Let me now go to the next item of the agenda. Item number 8. This item was withdrawn, and so no vote will be taken on it. Let me now invite Professor Isaac Macharia to take us through item 9. Professor.
Thank you, Chairman. The next item on the agenda is an extraordinary item, and I wish just to elaborate in 1 minute. It's not an item that you'll find many times in AGM, but we are considering an extraordinary moment in the history of Equity Bank. Dr. Munga today retires after 35 years of service. The board sat and considered his long service, his exemplary service to the company, and resolved to request shareholders to approve the next item. Now, the figure of 50 million was considered very carefully. That the 50 million that we are asking shareholders to approve, after taxation, Dr. Munga will get about 35 million or so. Translates to about 1 million shillings for every year that he served the bank. So I will now... Yes, and in our discussions with Dr. Munga, as he said that he will be available, we have also committed him to be available to the bank, to continue mentoring, and to make available to the bank his networks and his connections, and that he will not make available the same to our competitors for the next 10 years. Now, item number 9 is for payment of a one-off gratuity of 50 million shillings to the outgoing founder chairman, Dr. Peter Kahara Munga, in consideration of his length of service, commitment, and dedication to the company, which spans over 35 years. May I now have a shareholder to formally propose that payment of a one-off gratuity of 50 million shillings to the outgoing founder chairman, Dr. Peter Kahara Munga, in consideration of his length of service, commitment, and dedication to the company, which spans over 35 years, is hereby approved.
May I?
Yeah.
Sorry? Yes? May I have a shareholder who has not proposed before?
Up here.
Thank you. There.
Okay, my name is Joseph Chege. Bwana Chairman, thank you for job well done. I do propose.
Thank you. May I have another shareholder? Second.
Here I am. Here I am. Hello?
Mzee?
Hi.
Yes. You second.
Second.
Thank you. Onesimus has seconded. Meeting.
Hello? Hi.
Those.
My name is Ezekiel Gachu. What I'm saying, because of them could have proposed 100 million. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. As we continue interacting with Mr. Munga, when you will treat him and we shall treat him, in the course of time, we shall have given him more than 100 million. But thank you very much for those sentiments. May I now put the resolution to the meeting? Those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise your hands. Our company lawyers are reminding me that I make it clear to our shareholders that this is being passed as a special resolution. A special resolution requires 75% of those voting to support it. And maybe where she was sitting, she wanted us to make absolutely sure that those in favor will show their hands so that there is no doubt that 75% of us are in favor. So, shall I repeat that? Thank you. Those against, please raise. Thank you. And I now ask Dr. Munga to take the chair and conduct the next item. Thank you.
Any other business of which the notice has been given and jury received. This is the last item to be transacted at this meeting. I then conclude the business of today and ask the CEO, Dr. James Mwangi, to give a few remarks, and then ask a shareholder for a closing prayer. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, shareholders, for your patience. Thank you very much, our chairman, Dr. Munga. We have taken time, we have really discussed. So we'll then go to the next item. And the next item is that we'll be calling you soon. We said we have offered to buy 4 banks. We'll be calling you for an extraordinary meeting, maybe within 3 months. Once we have done due diligence, you will come and dialogue and evaluate that proposal. So, because we'll be meeting soon, and I've talked a lot today, allow me just to say we close with the seeking of blessings. And I want to invite a shareholder who would like to pray for us. Yes, please, come forward. And there is a gentleman who also wants to pray. Very good. The 2 of you can come. But all of us, let's seek blessings through our anthem. And I will ask the team just to sing the last stanza, Twainuka, or we rise up because of God's favor every day. and seeking blessing. So if we all be upstanding, our choir can sing the last stanza, so that we seek blessing as we go and as we cover the African continent and as we do.
Is also a Lord of compassion, tolerance, and inclusiveness. We sincerely humble ourselves before you this morning, not because we are worthy, but because we live in this world that is not perfect, full of imperfect people, with imperfect things, with mysterious happenings. We therefore seek for your incredible unconditional forgiveness, even as we journey. Grant us the ability to always focus towards greater heights. Bless the directors who will be traveling back home so that you can grant them journey mercies so that they can reach home in safe hands. The lines that you are going to give us to. Heavenly Father, draw us closer to your hearts. Draw us closer to your heart always so that we may not only remain victors. Amen.
Tulipoanza huu mkutano na sasa tumefika mwisho, tunataka kusema ni asanti. Tunataka kushukuru kwa mambo yote yametendeka. Isipokuwa ni wema wako Jehova Jire, hatungekuwa hapa, na mambo yale yote imetendwa ni kadri ya mapenzi yako. Tunaweka mkuu wetu Bwana Munga mikononi mwako. Wakati huu amestaafu, akiwa nyumbani, tunaomba ulinzi wako, tunaomba ili uzidi kumbariki. Kuna mambo yale tumetaja ile yako mbele yetu. Tunataka kufungua makao mapya. Baba, tunaomba uwepo wako uwe pamoja nasi. Tunaomba sababu ya CEO wetu Mwangi, tunamweka mikononi mwako. Branches zote tunaziweka mikononi mwako. Wakati watakaporudi manyumbani mwao, bariki. Mambo yote yako mbele yetu, sisi tunasema ni asanti. Sababu ya nchi yetu. And the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen and amen.
Bueno,